It was a game of hide and seek I would never forget. When my son Mason was 3 years old, it was all he wanted to play was hide and seek. So he convinces my husband Josh and I to play with him, but because he's only 3 years old, one of us has to hide with Mason. You don't want him swallowing a marble or drinking poison or something like that when he's hiding. And so Mason and I have found the perfect spot. We are hidden in this back bedroom closet. We've got some clothes in front of us. There's a hamper right here. There's a little people castle. And Mason and I are tucked back in the corner in the dark with the closet doors shut. And Mason is getting antsy. I'm looking down at him and he's doing this little thing. I was like, shh, Mason, stop wiggling. He's like, okay, Mom. Then he just starts giggling out of nowhere. I'm like, shh, Mason, stop giggling. He's like, okay, Mom. And then I hear him doing this. I'm like, Mason, shh, don't breathe so loud. You sound like a 700-pound sumo wrestler, Mace. Like, just chill out. He's like, yes, Mommy, yes, Mommy. And he's sitting there. You guys, 3 years old, it's hard to be patient and to be quiet and be still. But he was trying his best, and it got quiet just for a moment. And I felt this wonderfully warm sensation on my leg. And I thought to myself, is it possible that my leg fell asleep while I'm standing up? Is that a thing? Can that happen? And I look down, and my sweet little boy is peeing everywhere. He's peeing on me. He's peeing on the castle. He's peeing on the hamper. There's like a moat of urine going on around the castle. I'm like, Mason, what are you doing? He's like, I'm so sorry, Mommy. I just got scared. Yes, you did. And now at the Miles home, we require these to be worn. If you are under the age of 35, you have to wear a pull-up while you play hide and seek. Some of you are like, yes to the pull-up. I got a bladder problem. But here's the thing. This is my little boy, John Mark. He's my youngest. He's about the same age Mason was, yes. I mean, can you really? He's so cute. But I told him the other day, I said, could you go put on your pull-up, be a big boy and put it on? This is what he did. Yeah, he thinks he's funny. So he puts it on his head, but when John Mark was about 2, he would randomly disappear. It's like he started playing hide and go seek, but none of us knew he was playing. I call them evil toddler games. He would just vanish. I mean, vanish into thin air. We've got neighbors looking for him. The kids are in the backyard. My husband's looking up the Ring video feed. He's like, okay, he didn't go out the front door. I mean, he did not have Mason's issue. He could hide and be quiet like the best of them, and then we would find him hiding behind a houseplant like this. You know what he was doing, right? He was filling up his pull-up. And I would come close to him and he would go like this, top, I need pace. For those of you that don't speak toddler, that means stop, I need space. And then I would smell him and I'm like, oh my gosh, you need all the space in the world, kid. Like, finish your business. Nobody wants to see or smell that at all. Well, my older kids, they made a joke out of it. And anytime John Mark would go missing, didn't matter where we were at church, we're at Target, they'd be like, he's probably pooping on aisle 3, just follow your nose. I'm like, oh my gosh. But there's nothing scarier in all the world than losing your kid. Now, I know you don't have kids yet, but let me just tell you, there's nothing scarier than that. And a year ago, in June of last summer, a group of parents in Thailand, they went through that nightmare where they didn't know where their kids were and if they were okay. This is the Wild Boar Soccer Club. They're 11 to 16-year-old boys, and these guys, along with their coach one day, after a Saturday practice, they went into a cave just to explore and have a fun time. So they went in there, but guess what happened? Dinner time rolls around, they're nowhere to be seen. That night, their parents start panicking, and their search party would put on, and the life and death game of hide and seek had begun. The wild boars were missing. So the parents and everybody starts searching for them, and this is what they see. They find these shin guards and cleats and their bicycles out in front of the most dangerous and one of the biggest caves in all of northern Thailand. Now see, what the boys didn't know, you guys, is that while they were inside exploring the cave, on the outside it was raining. It wasn't just like a sprinkle or a Midwest thunderstorm. They were in monsoon season. And that means these rains come like crazy, and it flooded. The floodwaters came into the cave, and it trapped the boys in the cave. 1 Kings chapter 19, our prophet Elijah is in a cave tonight. If you've got your Bibles mixed, open up with me to 1 Kings 19. If you've got one of those cool little notebooks, this will be an awesome time to get it out and take some notes. 1 Kings 19. Elijah is in a cave. He's alone, he's scared, he's on the run. Jezebel is trying to hunt him down. She's threatened to kill him, and he is on the run. Now, if you remember the story from yesterday, you know that Elijah's been hidden by God before. Elijah has been hidden in a valley. Remember when the drought came and God provided for him? And then when the brook dried up, God said, okay, it's time to move to the widow's house, and I'm gonna take care of you there. And he hid him from King Ahab and Jezebel. You guys, this time is different. Listen to me, this time Elijah's hiding himself. And he's not doing a super awesome job, but now he is in a cave on the mountain of God called Mount Horeb, and that's where we're gonna pick up in 1 Kings 19, starting with verse 9. It says this, then he went into a cave, and the word of the Lord came to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? Do you guys know that nobody asked you that question when you're where you're supposed to be? Have you noticed that? It's 2 a.m. You're in your basement playing your Xbox. Your dad comes downstairs and he says, son, what are you doing here? And you're like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, when you're not where you're supposed to be, that's when people are asking you this question. And that's what God asked Elijah. Elijah replies in verse 10, and he says this, I've been very zealous for the Lord Almighty. The Israelites, they've rejected your commandments. They've torn down your altars, and they've put your prophets to death with a sword, and I'm the only one left, and they're trying to kill me too. Elijah's having this pity party, you guys. He is alone, he's in a cave, he's scared, and he's worried, and he defends himself. He's like, God, I'm doing all this work for you, I'm doing the thing, I'm underworked, I'm overpaid, and my life's not going right. They're trying to kill me, and oh yeah, your people. He just throws God's people straight under the bus. And then God says this to them. God has the coolest response. Check out his response in verse 11. The Lord said, go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord's about to pass by. Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord, he wasn't in the wind. And after the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake came a fire, but guess what? The Lord wasn't in the fire. And after that came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled the cloak over his face, and he went and he stood at the mouth of the cave. You guys, Elijah had seen God show up in the wind. He'd seen God show up in the fire, and then the Lord shows up in the sound of a whisper. When someone whispers to you, you have to do something different. I'm a loud person, I'm just kind of loud by nature, but when somebody whispers, you gotta be still. You gotta lean in. You gotta pause, and you gotta really focus and listen, and that's what the Lord does to him in the cave. You know, there's another verse, another translation of the Bible, and in the Bible it says that he came in the sound of silence. That makes no sense to me. The sound of sheer silence. You guys, if it's silence, that means there's no sound. So I don't get it, but how does the Lord do it? I don't know. How did the Lord take a sacrifice that was wet and burn it up with his fire? I don't know. How did the Lord feed a prophet that was hungry with these birds? I don't know. How did the Lord take hard hearts and make them soft again? I don't know, but here's this tonight, you guys. We don't need to know how he does it for it to be true. Some of you get so fixed on, but how, but you don't need to know the how for it to be true, because get this, you guys, this is true. The Lord met Elijah in the cave. The Lord met Elijah in the cave, and he shows up with his presence, because God has a plan for his people when they feel alone, and his presence is part of that plan. Somebody in the house say presence. His presence is part of the plan. Maybe you've not been peed on before, you know, by little kids, but maybe you've played hide and go seek with some little kids, and you know that they like to hide. How do I say this? I mean, they're horrible at hiding, right? They throw a blanket over their head, you can see half their body, you're like, ready or not, here I come. you're it, like game over. I mean, they try, but they're just not that great at it. Check out this guy. He's my favorite. He's so cute. He's like so serious. They can't see me. They can't see me. I know they can't see me, right? But this next one is so creepy. I love it. Can you see her little head? I mean, this right here is what nightmares are made out of. If you flipped on the bathroom light and this little head is behind the toilet, holy moly. Like, I am gonna need a pull-up at that point, right? You guys, kids are so funny because they hide in plain sight. But tonight in this place, I think there's a lot of us hiding in plain sight. You're physically here. You're at Mix, you're sitting in your small group, you're even hanging out with people that you call your friends, and yet you feel alone. You are hiding in plain sight. My question to you tonight is, what cave are you hiding in? What cave are you hiding in? Maybe your cave is called shame. You've done something, you've said something, you've looked at something on your phone or on a tablet, and now you don't feel like you're worthy to be a part of this group, and so you take a step back. And you find yourself withdrawing and you're in this cave because you just don't feel good enough. Maybe your cave is called disappointment. The people that were supposed to be there for you, they've let you down so many times that your heart is hardened and you're like, nobody doing that to me again. And you withdraw and you take a step back and you are in a cave tonight called disappointment. My 8-year-old daughter, I wish I had a picture to show you of her. She is precious. And she tried out for this part at music camp this week at our church. And you know what? She did not get the part. And it was waterworks, you guys. I mean, like weeping and gnashing of teeth at my house. And she's like, Mommy, I can't believe I didn't get a part. I must be horrible. I can't dance. I can't sing. I can't act. And she's losing her mind, you guys. Now, can she dance? Yes. Can she act? Yes. But you guys get this. She's in a cave, and when she's in a dark spot, and when you're in a dark spot, you start believing these lies that are not true about you because you're hurting and you're in pain. And you start believing these lies, and when you believe these lies, it drives you back further into this cave of isolation and loneliness, and you step back further, and it was breaking my heart when Adele was saying this stuff about herself. Because she's disappointed and she's in a cave. Maybe that's your cave tonight. I wonder if your cave tonight is called fear or anxiety. You have these what ifs in your mind where like, what if I don't make the grade? What if I don't make the team? What if they don't want to be my friends anymore? What if my parents break up? What if my grandma dies? And these what ifs are eating your lunch and no one knows it. No one knows you're going through a hard place because you just put on a smile and you keep rolling on to youth group, you keep rolling on to school, you keep doing your thing, but on the inside, you are stuck in a cave called anxiety. Maybe tonight your cave was like my junior high cave and it was called the cave of loneliness. I know, I'm super funny and cool and it's like, how could you ever be lonely? No, that was my cave. See, when I was in the 6th grade, I had an awesome year and an awful year. Maybe you've had that where it's like the best of times and the worst of times. In the 6th grade, my dad died and my whole family came to know Jesus in the same year. So it was awesome and it was awful at the same time. And then we moved to another state and we're living in a new state and I'm going to the 7th grade and I literally am trying to start my life all over with new friends and new people. And you know what? I made those friends at school. But because I gave my life to Jesus, they were doing crazy stuff on the weekends, and I'm like, I can't go with y'all on the weekends. I can be your friend at school in the hallways when it's safe and you're not doing the crazy craze, but I can't go with you on the weekends. And you guys, I was so lonely. I would hang out with my mom and watch Hallmark movies before Hallmark movies were cool. Like now they're kind of fun, but they weren't cool back in the day, and that was my junior high experience. You guys, I was in a cave called loneliness, and if I'm really honest with you, I was kind of mad at God about that because I thought, Lord, here I am trying to follow you and I feel so alone. Maybe that's your cave tonight. I don't know what cave you found yourself in, but you guys, I have really good news tonight. That's been a lot of heavy news, but the good news tonight is that God has a plan when you feel alone. 1 Kings 19:13, let's find out what happens to our buddy Elijah. Then a voice said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" God asked him the same question. Isn't that weird? He asked him the same question. Get this, Elijah's not inside the cave. He's moved to the front of the cave now, and God still asks him the same question, and Elijah responds the same way. Check this out. When I first read verse 14, I thought it was a typo. I thought Zondervan totally messed up. I'm like, they printed it again. Like, this is a do-over. But no, Elijah goes on the same exact rant, word for word. I have been zealous for the Lord. The Israelites rejected your commands. I'm the only one left. Now they're trying to kill me. And verse 15 is different. Don't miss this. The Lord said to him, go back the way you came. Go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael, king over Aram. Also anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, king of Israel. And anoint Elijah, son of Snapchat. No, that's really not his name. But it looks like it, and it kind of pronounces like it, so that's what I'm going to go with. And then skip down to verse 18. And then the Lord says, I've reserved 7,000 people who've not bowed down to worship Baal. You guys, when you're in a cave called loneliness, your perspective is really messed up. And it's really hard to see that you're not really the only one. And here, it's not like God's like, oh, there's 7 more that I forgot about. No, there's 7,000. And Elijah thinks he's the only one. I can relate to that. Because I know when I'm in a dark place, I'm like, nobody knows the troubles I've gone through. Nobody knows how I feel. But the truth is that there are people that know, and there are people that care, and that God has a plan for you when you feel alone. John Mark kept on doing this weird game of hide and seek even after he was out of pull-ups. So he would just disappear on us. And I finally went to my mom, and I said, Mom, I know that you've been doing this mom thing a lot longer than me. Did I ever do this weird thing where I would disappear and you couldn't find me? She's like, no, you didn't. I said, well, I don't know what to do with this kid. Like, I'm afraid I'm gonna lose him, and he's adorable, and what if someone takes him, and the what if monster's eating my lunch? And my mom's like, give me like an hour, Jaclyn, I got it. I don't know if you know this yet, maybe you don't. Your mom actually does know what she's talking about. It took me like 38 years to figure that out, but my mom is a genius. She takes him, and she says, all right, John Mark, I want you to run and hide. So he goes and hides behind the couch. And then he says, when I call your name, John Mark, you're going to pop out and say, here I am. So this went on over and over. My mom would yell, Grammy would yell, John Mark, where are you? And then he would pop out, here I am, Grammy, and they'd laugh and they'd dance, and this went on. Like, my mom is so patient, I would never have the patience for this. She did this like 40 times with him. Guess what, you guys? I have not lost the kid since. Like, he actually does this. He pops out, and he says, here I am, and tonight, in this place, there are some people that have been hiding in plain sight, and God's like, it is time for you to pop out of this cave you're in and say, here I am. I have been hiding in this cave. It's been dark and it's been lonely and I've been scared and I'm tired of being alone when I don't need to be alone. And the Lord is saying right now is your night to practice in a safe place. Can we just declare this a safe place tonight? That you can just be safe and be real with people and with your leaders and say, here I am, I've been hiding. Well, it was 10 days in to the wild boars team, their disappearance. And at this point, I remember last summer, I was watching this unfold on the news. I'm looking on my phone and I'm thinking, it's 10 days in. There's a good chance this is not a rescue operation, but like a recovery, like recovering bodies. Because I'm thinking, there's no way, there's no food, there's no water. I mean, is there oxygen in this cave? Like, what kind of diseases could be in there? And you guys, on the 10th day, there was this search going on where 1,000 people had come in. They were flying in, cave diving experts. I didn't even know that was like a job title, but they were flying these guys in from all over the place, and these 2 British guys, they're hilarious. If you need to see the video. They are going on this 6-hour adventure trying to find them. They said the water was like dark, murky coffee. Now, I love coffee, so the thought of swimming in coffee is kind of a fun thought, but when you can't see what's in front of you, and the spaces are so tight, you guys, they had to take off their oxygen tanks just to squeeze through. It was crazy, but 6 hours into their venture into the cave, they find some boys alive on a ledge. Here's a picture of them. And this is you can imagine they're seeing light for the first time and it's blinding them. And they're up on this ledge and the British guy yells out, he says, how many of there are you? Because he's thinking, Maybe not all of them are alive. And they say, all 13, we're all here. You know what the British dude says? He doesn't say hip hip hooray. He doesn't say booyah. He doesn't say hoorah. He says brilliant. Brilliant. I'm like, is that his British thing or what? Like, could you show some excitement? Like, these dudes are alive and all you got is brilliant. I mean, it just kills me. I'm like, guys, show some emotion, right? But they were alive, but it wasn't the end of their journey. It took them another week to try to get these guys out. And you guys, the crazy things they did to try to get them out was insane. One of their ideas was to leave them in the cave for 4 months until monsoon season was over and just keep bringing them food, but to leave them there. Could you imagine? You're just standing in the cave like, we're just waiting to get rescued. We're going to play tic-tac-woe on the wall again. Like, what would they do? Their other idea was to drill down through the top of the cave. Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. So finally they realized we're going to have to swim them out. But get this, some of the boys, they don't know how to swim. And they're like, do we teach them how to dive? What do we do? And so they finally come up with this plan because the weather was coming in. More rain was coming. They're already pumping water out of the cave. And they're like, we got to do this and we got to do it now. And they do. And you guys, today, July 10th is the 1-year anniversary of every single one of those boys and their coach being pulled out of that cave. And it's crazy. Yeah, one kid is super excited on the front row. I love it. It's a miracle and it's awesome. And I know that there were lots of people praying for that. But tonight, what I want to say is this. The Lord wants to do that for you tonight. He shows up in your cave. You don't even realize this. Some of you think, no, the Lord's done with me. You don't know what I've done. You don't know what I've said. No. The Lord goes to you in your cave, and he's ready to pull you out. He's not mad at you. He is ready to pull you out of that cave and to walk you out of your lonely place. And so tonight in this place, what I want us to do as we close is I want us all, if you're cool with this, just close your eyes. And I want us to listen for that gentle whisper. What might the Lord be saying to you in this place tonight about your cave, about where you've been hiding, about his plan and his purpose for you? Let's listen. Maybe the Lord's saying that he loves you. I still have a plan for you. You are my child. You are my son. You are my daughter. You are safe with me. I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to abandon you. You are valuable to me. So take my hand and let's walk out of this cave together, because I have a plan for you when you feel alone. In Jesus' name.